Hello, and welcome to Nation Fan TV. I am Pelo, I am your host. This is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs, Amakosi Football Club. And in today's video, we are talking about, what are we talking about? Kamohelo Mahlatsi's potential loan move and the Swallows fixture being rescheduled, and why this is, because it's very interesting. Well, it's interesting, could be annoying, it could be an inconvenience to the people who had already planned to go on the game on that day, but we'll explain what actually happened with that. But before we continue and start talking about everything and the video and stuff, let's start here. Let's start with the house, the things that we're supposed to do. Please like the video, right? Like the video, that helps me to reach more people like you. Subscribe to the channel, once again, that also helps me to reach more people like you. And also comment, letting me know what you think about what I'm talking about. So I just realized that on my poll it says, should Kamohelo Mahlatsi stay or go? Pardon me, it was supposed to be should Mahlatsi go or stay. So I also have this poll where you guys can vote, because there is this thing that we're going to talk about. The first story about Kamohelo Mahlatsi, Uguti, he wants to move away from the Chiefs, and this is not even like Uguti Chiefs who are trying to move him on, but it's actually him who wants to move on from the Chiefs. He wants to not be sold, but he wants to be loaned out to another team so that he can prove himself on that other team and then potentially come back to the Chiefs. And I would say this, I think, not that I think, I respect the fact that there is a player who can be at Kaizer Chiefs and still want to leave Kaizer Chiefs, right? But to leave Chiefs so that he can come back and play for Chiefs. So I think as a professional, right, as a person, if this was my brother or cousin or whatever, I was related to this person somehow, or my son or myself, I would be like, I'm proud of you, because that tells me, Uguti, you are not just a Chiefs because of the money, but you are Chiefs because you wanted to play your football for the biggest team in South African football. So now if you see Uguti, you are currently not playing for the team, then you think that moving on to another team will actually benefit you, then I would say, okay, look, go prove yourself in another team and then come back to Chiefs. But the problem is, which team? Because if he goes, let's just say Royal M1 team, or I don't know who can go to, goes back to Swallows, for example, let's say they survive relegation, and then you come back to Chiefs, you've basically made the same move. You've gone back to where you came from. We bought you from Swallows because you were good at Swallows, and then you came to Chiefs, you couldn't play. So now you're going to go back to Swallows again and improve yourself and then come back to your Chiefs. What sort of improvement can you make at Swallows that will then make the Chiefs coaches think, oh wow, we made a mistake by letting him go on loan? Because I feel like it's the same thing that he will do with Swallows. He will go and perform as he was performing before he was bought by Chiefs. So now you see what I'm getting at here. What makes sense is for him to be in a team that is playing at a similar level as the Chiefs. Probably a Cape Town City, or I don't know who else is competing around that. Super Sport, he plays a different system. The only team that I can think of that plays the sort of football that Chiefs plays is a Cape Town City, and that's it. That's all I can think of. So I am not sure Uguti this is necessarily good for him if he still wants to stay at Chiefs. I think this is good for him if he wants to leave the Chiefs eventually, or in a way he wants to say, well, I tried, or he wants to say, I am still good enough if there's someone else who wants me. But this will not, I don't think it will in any way help him to kind of be brought back by Chiefs and think he's improve profile yakhe. It's weird to my head namanje. I'm still processing it and thinking ukuthi it doesn't make any sense. And the fact that he's been sort of reintroduced to the team, even though he's been reintroduced to the team, although he didn't play the first half of the season, it tells me ukuthi he's kind of growing and is becoming better in a way, unless he can see ukuthi he's doing much better than the other guys that are selected ahead of him, which could then be interpreted in two ways. One, it could be ukuthi he thinks he's better than them, or he sees ukuthi he's better than them. It's a very complicated thing, but himself, he has gone to the management and said he wants to be given a loan. Let me read some of your comments. Football Freaks is saying Fede Brompilo, awe. Today I'm the first one to comment is dancing. And watch me whip. I like this. And then Football Freaks, oh okay. Cooks is saying Ola Lapo, awe. And then I want to say something. Unat is saying Olampilo Nation, awe. Godfrey is saying Kosi Nation, always love and peace. Love and peace. Mandla is saying, I wish Mahlatsi would stay, but if he wants to move, I can't blame a player wanting to play. Definitely. Like if you're a player and you want to play, you don't just want to stay at Chiefs for the brand and for the money. All respect, man. All respect. Mandla continues to say he can't go to Swallows, Stellies, Cape Town City, Cape Town Spurs if they, or he can or can't, I don't get it, or Cape Town Spurs if they get promoted. Other than that, he must go to Europe. Sejota Matlo came back from Portugal, so it can happen. My problem in Amandla is ukuthi I feel like agents in South African football, with all due respect, I don't think they always find the best teams for their players, Shem. How many times do we find these players that we think are good and can play abroad not finding teams? I mean, make this make sense. How is it that a player like Themba Zwane has never played in Europe, right? How does it make sense that a player like Thembinkosi Lodge has never played in Europe? How does it make sense that Spio Shabalala ended up not playing in Europe when he was in his prime? How does it make sense that Ukune stayed in SA for the entire duration of his career? Ukune was good enough to play in Europe. I know there was that issue with the height, but Ukune had a distribution, has even now. Kune has the distribution. He was a very good goalkeeper in his prime, so he could have easily gotten a move abroad. Like there was a time where he was linked, I think it was Shabalala, that one, even Ukun, linked with Nottingham Forest and stuff like that. I'm just thinking, how do these agents fail to get these players, these moves abroad? So that is why I'm just saying, sometimes I question abadlali base South Africa, agents as South Africa, how do they constantly fail to get these players better moves to go abroad? That is why I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And then Theo is saying Olampilo mfethu to hope right bar for awe makosi mina ndithi mabahlale cause they are both good. It's just the thing of favorites in the team. Actually, I wanted to say only for now, for today, Mahlatsi. I just typed Umashiane because in the earlier story I was talking about Mashiane. So now I was thinking Mahlatsi. It's also because he's my favorite player. And then Ulinda Charlie saying Mahlatsi is a good ball player. He should stay and work hard for him to get game time. He's earning a very decent salary at Kaizer Chiefs and indeed getting every time indeed getting better every time the coach plays him. Exactly. I think that's what he should work on. It would be interesting, Uguti, what actually prompted Uzwane to bring him back. Was it just him experimenting with new players? Because you remember, Uguti, he started playing in the game that we played against in Golden Arrows on the 31st of December. And that was the same time he introduced to Samkelo Zwane. So it's possible ukuthi this was the second group of players that he was now trying to play with, and maybe he was falling into that. But is it possible also ukuthi he was played because he started making these conversations ukuthi, if you're not gonna play me, then please loan me out in January. Then they were like, no, you are part of the plans now. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying, what if that's a possibility? By the way, please do like the video if you're enjoying it. And on the other hand, I mean, I'm being driven crazy by my lighting because it's annoying me. Anyways, the next comment is, wait, I tried this before. What am I even doing? My light. I'm being driven crazy by my light while I'm live. Okay. Next comment is Umandle saying, I'm saying those teams but not Swallows. Oh, Swallows is a no-no. Lodge, Zwane were in smaller teams and got locked up by big teams. Kaizer Chiefs blocked Chaba and Kone. It's not the agents, it's the teams. That's exactly my point. Jude Bellingham is signed with Dortmund, and they set up, even Ubabwak, his father, set up a contract yake such that he's playing for Dortmund long enough for him to develop, but at the same time, not so long such that Dortmund can hold him even when he wants to leave. There are things like release clauses. Yesterday we were talking about this thing, Yoguti. In South African football, I have never heard of a release clause. Why do agents not negotiate release clauses? Why is that the case? Because if you think about it, if you release clause yomdlali, let's just take Ukune in his prime, phela futhi at the time, Ukune mhlambe bebengamdayisa market at the time for 10 million, that was going to be like a decent amount. So if he's costing release clause yake is double the market value yake, then the Chiefs is going to take 20 million for a quality keeper as Ukune. Because remember, that 20 million is 1 million in Europe, and you need a decent keeper to come and play for your team. They're going to pay it. So I am thinking, when these agents, they are failing our players in a way. So no, but Mandla, they are not just new. Indaba ye release clause was about Neymar. Yes, we first saw it with name, but I'm saying indaba yakhe in 2017, ama release clauses already existed before that. It's just that the first big money release clause that we heard about was Lega name, but before that, indaba yama release clause was already there. Indaba yama negotiation, indaba yama sell-on clauses, indaba yani could always be there to make sure ukuthi players don't get locked up in by one team, because what ends up happening is that a team can act only in their interest, because it's criminal ukuthi you can hold Ukune and say he's not leaving. And also the agents, why did they not do what angithi we're blaming who's this guy, the agent Gablom, ukuthi came out and talked to Robert Marau? Why do the other agents not do that when they want a move for their player? Like they say, why was SA not in that position in the first place? So I'm saying, mina, if kuguti Tina as South Africans, we're always behind, we're always catching up in everything. Everything Tina, we're always catching up. Then no wonder why our football will remain behind, because all the time Tina, we're playing catch up, we're playing njalo nje Tina, we're behind. A lot of talent is being held here, but because are you going to honestly tell me Uguti Ghana has better lawyers and agents than South Africa, with all due respect? Because if you're looking at countries and their development, South Africa is leading in Africa, and in recent years, because of however the country is being run right now, the other countries are overtaking South Africa. But we do have people, we do have talent, and because of the education system, that are here in South Africa, you should be thinking ukuthi we should be ahead and thinking like abo Ghana. Because are you telling me ukuthi Ghana they couldn't hold the players abanje ngobanje who was in their prime back in the 2010s? I can't even think of the players. But abo Michael Essien, Nigeria, you go to Ivory Coast or Drogba. You have all these players from the northern side of Africa and the western side of Africa who were key players for their teams before they moved abroad. They still moved. Why do they only get held up here in SA and not in the other countries? That's my biggest question, Uguti. It only happens in South Africa because we keep on making our excuses sometimes for our South African football, Uguti, because of this reason and that reason. But if you really look at it, wathina just selling a move isn't, because the next thing you know, what's this thing? Other countries will be getting further and further ahead of us. Tina sloku sala move. Oh, maningi ke nalama comments akhe. Oh, busachaza itori ngoMahlatsi ukuthi what happened. A lot of Asians worldwide did not know indaba release clause. We can't lie about that. These new contracts you are talking about didn't exist back in the day. But I will make an example. How come even back in the day, because Rob Moore is the same agent, represent Steven Pienaar, Penny McCarthy and other players, he still got them to go abroad. So that means there was someone who was in SA who knew about these things and how to get his players from here to the other side. So there is a way, and I'm just saying, Guti, we cannot say it's because of money. We can't say ama agents are always in the clear. I don't believe that for a second, man. I really don't. Kukhona vele ukuthi we are behind and these things are new, but at the end of the day, there is also the fact that our agents, our football is also just slacking behind, and that is why a lot of players would end up staying in SA football, and then they get stuck even though they could move abroad, which I think sucks. Because the nation stand, Mahlatsi should stay for me. He can be an impact player. As for Cardoso is concerned, that should not say anything because as experienced player, he failed at Chiefs. That comment is for that other video. Don't bring comments for the other video here. And then we say, Umanda saying that Steven Pienaar and McCarthy left because teams were paid sufficiently. But Mandla, what you are saying agents are in the clear. That's what you are saying. I mean, I'm saying, Guti, your points could be valid, but to a certain extent, there is no way, Guti, the agents are always in the clear. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Guti, there seems to be a thing, Guti, there is always an excuse for an agent. I mean, I don't believe that. As much as I would agree, Guti, yes, it's because maybe Pienaar went through Ajax Cape Town, Vele even Serrero, they went through Ajax Cape Town. Then the question is, since they went through Ajax Cape Town, why couldn't the other agents see what model is Ajax Cape Town and Ajax Amsterdam use? Okay, there's a team that they have a relationship with. Okay, what if we establish a relationship with the Club Brugge, Uguti by agency that is in South Africa, and give you Club Brugge players that are coming from SA. Oh, let's fly to France and negotiate with Nice. Nice is a good team, but they are not like fighting for the League R title every season. So let's go to them and say, okay, what if we establish a partnership that will recruit players for you in SA football and bring them to you in France? Oh, let's go to a championship and go to Plymouth Argyle. Okay, Plymouth people, we have players here in South Africa that we can bring to play in your team. So that's what I'm saying, Guti. There could be a way, Guti, okay, since Ajax is basically using Ajax Cape Town as sort of their development, can we not find a way to have a similar relationship with other teams in Europe? That's all that I'm saying, Guti. Tina, we're just saying, I know, we are just going to say, it's difficult for us. So let's sit back and not do anything. That's the thing that I'm trying to say. Nation saying it should stay. Manda is saying Europe teams valued SA players more than today, and we now went to Ajax. I've addressed that one. Agent selling between SA teams are the bad ones, but when we talk Europe's, But when we talk Europe's, it's the teams. Agents have been trying that. Example, Team Sugazi, and they get told the same story. They don't have evidence SA players can play, so the agents struggle to get their players decent contracts in Europe. The best SA players will get paid more in SA than Europe, and that's the issue. You need your players to be willing to prove themselves. But abakati makhona, there are players that go to Europe bafike bahole imali encane and they still prove themselves and they shine. Our players, it's also because they know ukuthi mabefika le Europe, most of them they struggle. Because here's another thing, man. I know Nalauzo, this is just another topic. Uguti, why do you find Uguti in South Africa? You find a team that has been in the league, for like a lot of years, like Arrows. When last was Golden Arrows sponsored? Marispec United not sponsored. We can go through our teams, Agui League or Sekukune. They are not sponsored. In Cape Town City just got, there was a sport pass, Asegu FNP match. But why is it that South African teams are not sponsored as well? What is happening? Am I marketing up? Because again, uzote, I know, but South African football is not as big in sponsorship, in football sponsorship as in Europe. But then I will ask the same question, Uguti, how then let me say, for example, why is it then that we find so many ads during match day advertising on DSTV, yet you could also have that same thing, each as in let him go to KFC for Arrows, KFC sponsored by KFC or sponsored by so and so, even if a partnership is short term, we don't see that. So I'm saying in South African football, in terms of how we negotiate things and how we find deals and how we do this and how we do that, Marispec United ingaba sponsored by Hollywood Bets. There are a lot of cracks that I'm saying in South African football can be fixed. I feel like we're just not doing enough, Tina, as what's this thing, as South African football. I forgot, I almost left the story out. Indaba yokuthi the fixture Chiefs and Swallows has been postponed, which is a weird one. It's not weird really, because the game was supposed to play on a Tuesday, right? It was supposed to play on a Tuesday, 2 of May, but then apparently, let me read the statement. They're saying the decision has been taken after considering the availability of the Peter Mokaba Stadium and other logistical issues related to the broadcaster SuperSport. So basically what is happening is that a game, if it was played on the day, it seems like it has been moved to Monday. Can I read it again? The fixture has been moved forward to Monday, 1 May, with the kickoff time also changed to 1500 hours, which is, oh my God, I will be at work. Why are they doing this to me? I just noticed right now, Guti statement bengasifundanga indaba yesikhathi, but I will be at work, which sucks because the game starts while I'm at work. Anyways, availability of the Peter Mokaba Stadium, man. My question is, why is it that they only realized like 2 weeks before the game, Uguti, there were going to be complications? This is why lezinto lezi ngithi abomandla, what I'm talking about, Uguti, it just like even the Chiefs now, they will reschedule a game because Peter Mokaba is no longer available. You remember when we had to move a game Chiefs to Moses Mabhida because Justin Bieber was going to be performing in FNP, but then the game had to be brought back to FNP because Justin Bieber was sick. uyabona nje zonke lezi zinto lezi eziyi-mix masala ngeke uthole kunama-complications amangaka in European football because they plan ahead of time. Zonke lezi zinto ziyaplanwa kahle, but manje I know ukuthi umuntu uzothi hayi but we don't own stadiums in South African footballs, but still if you need ama-deal then you respect each other ukuthi I have a deal yokuthi I'm playing a game every Saturday here, then we will not have these things that are moving around because they are affecting people who had planned to go to that game. Now fewer fans are going to attend that game because now the kickoff is at 3 p.m. instead of being at 7, and now people like me who would still be at work at 3 cannot watch the game because now the game is playing while we're at work. So these complications and inconveniences are causing us and complicating things for us fans. So once again, what's the excuse there? Uguti the stadium they just change whenever. Since there are too much excuses for South African football. I mean, I will just say that. Umanda saying no marketing is more funding. Our teams aren't allowed by proper money. If we're to be honest, it's not easy owning a team in SA. Sandile saying I think the biggest challenge why our players are not moving abroad, it's the body structure. If you look at Hlongwane, he had the potential to develop his body and now he's more physical there. But once again, you see this thing, Yoguti, players who work hard, they survive. They survive over there. They do. They just survive because they work hard. I heard a lot of people making excuses for Tao, saying it was Graham Potter who didn't like him, blah, 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 this and that. They just did not fit because our players are not used to working hard. It's still a surprise in South African football if a coach comes out and says a player cannot be playing in this team if they drink or smoke. It's still a big surprise in that. If Egbeni in Europe, you'll find Uguti, you should be sleeping at this time because you are playing tomorrow at this time. I don't think Abadlal Base South Africa have a bedtime. They just go to sleep whenever or after they go to a club. And then we're expecting our players to go to Europe and shine. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So there are a lot of things that are delaying and derailing our football. From the players to ISAFA, PSL, the coaches, whoever and whatever else. Because in South Africa, we have no excuse to be this behind. We just don't have an excuse to be this behind. Says there's a host and a World Cup. Ingane every time Zinyek. Mayibona mina nje vele iculuza mina waka. Anyways, that's another thing for another day. Unathi saying on the other hand, if he goes on loan him to Stellis to strengthen our bond with them, that would be a good idea actually. Yabo Mahlatsi, if there is a player who wants to go, then you can have him go to Stellenbosch. Make sure it goes to the teams that we actually want to try a relationship. Amanda is saying well-established and managed teams are struggling to get sponsored. From Supersport to Maritzburg are struggling to get money. In Europe, that is not the issue. There are teams focused purely on football because money is there. Yeah, but I'm saying, what is the problem? What is the problem? Because Supersport is struggling to get a sponsor, but Amazulu have been sponsored by USPA. Are you honestly telling me, Uguti, there can't be any deals made with somebody? Right now, there's a rise of influencers. Because our teams also, they are not treating themselves as brands. The fact that Kaizer Chiefs YouTube channel is not growing as fast as it should be. Chiefs has a lot of supporters, but the channel Chiefs are not content. There's no content in the channel. Like I can apply to be content manager, YouTube channel Chiefs. There could be a lot of things happening there. Anyone, literally anyone who is a content creator can change the channel Chiefs and make the channel a and make the channel a and make the channel more attractive for people to watch, not just to repost comment sections, highlights. But there could be a lot of things that could be done. Interviews, players, sponsored segments by Buga what all Liverpool or Man City are doing. They could just have a game between two players, and then that section is sponsored by, I don't know, HDMI or Vaseline, whatever. We don't do that. We don't see football channels in YouTube channels, or even the Instagrams or the whatevers promoting and having brand deals. Why? Because Chiefs are now starting to become that club that is slowly becoming and showing what they are being a brand, right? They are just becoming a brand. Exactly, Ntlantla. You see, I'm embarrassed. I honestly didn't know the Chiefs has a YouTube channel. Exactly. You see what I'm talking about, Tuguti? If there is a Kaizer Chiefs fan even right now who doesn't know Guti Chiefs has a channel, it's because it's not being utilized enough. It's not being utilized enough. And imagine, nigga, what chance do you have if you're still in Porsche and you're not even posting highlights on YouTube using your own account? What chance do you have? Because people would die to just see a post-match interview, or even what happens with channel before the game, to see Orenas getting ready for the game, to see the unseen footage. Yes, Stellenbosch. Guys, why are we not doing these things? Because akona makamera. But I'm just saying, Uguti, there are a lot of things. I'm a brand, they want to work with people who are in front of people all the time, because they want their brands to be in front of people all the time. But people are not doing that, and because of that, Ipola to staying behind and behind and behind, because we are just not doing the things that we're supposed to do. Wait, maninga comments. Kahlahliwa over time. I should be going back to the thing, to the video. Umandla Ubhizi wenzela abantu base South Africa my excuse, saying Chiefs more on billionaire status, even if not exactly billionaire. Billionaires drive sponsors through their personal business. And they're saying Man City, Chelsea, who are associated to businesses, that Bill Gates own arrows and the sponsors. Nah, Mandla, I disagree with you. I feel like you are making too many excuses for our failure to utilize these brands as basically a way of driving extra income to South African football, because I feel like we could do better, much better. Because the example, I'm saying, the example right now is just Uguti. Why is Chiefs? I know football is business, but if football is business, why then are we not growing our brand so that it's easier for other businesses to want to work with us? Right? Like, for me, Uguti, there are people that have wanted to work with me, but I cannot do that, because you think, Uguti, is this good for me, or is that not good for me? Saying Shomina again, I'm a brand deals, Uguti. You look and you think, no, this is not good for me. So I know what I need to do right now is to grow my brand so that people can take me seriously. You understand? So, because if you are saying Umanto, Gokumanto, Mamanto is not being sponsored because she's not a billionaire, arrows are consistently in the PSL and they've not even been relegated. Amazulu have been sponsored by USPA for the longest time, and they are still being sponsored by USPA. Even during their birthdays, they were still sponsored by USPA. So I will still say, honestly, South African football can do better in getting better in general, in terms of how we get money, how we make more money, how we sell players, how we get moves for the players going abroad. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you haven't liked the video, by the way, please do like the video. Am no mandla, so ihlalela le eceleni phansi, because ngiyambona ufuna ukudefend ama South Africans a bit. Exactly. You are saying AmaZulu is a 100-year-old brand, but if you grow your brand and you make it big, people start to notice it. You can't do that if you are not even posting once on your timeline, yet you are a South African club in the PSL. That's what I'm saying. ngizoyivala lapho ke ngithi thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next video, and until next time, remember, ikhosi aliphela umoya. Hayi uMandla ngeke